Welcome to Gorilla and the Geek, a podcast about shows of all types. This week, or this month rather, we are back talking about The Circle, one of our favorite reality/game shows. I am one of your hosts, known as Buff Charmander, joined as always by my good pal and co-host, the Ginger Gorilla.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Kyle, this is now our fourth podcast talking about probably my favorite game slash reality TV show ever, which I mean, I guess is also a niche category, so there's not really money to compete with. But I mean, you got the challenge, you got things like that. And this blows this out of the water. The Circle season 4, Kyle. The Circle season 4.
I'm a I I I have my rankings of each season, and I
Mm-hmm.
can give it. But maybe I'll do that a little bit later. I'll just say, big fan of this season. I they do such a really good job in the casting process of this show, and I think Netflix does. Pardon me, as a whole, Netflix does a really good job of casting for both their scripted shows as well as their reality shows. Outside of some of their movies, which have been a little bit rough. I'm looking at you, Death Note, but the the way that they cast The Circle and Love Is Blind, of course, and The Ultimatum, uh, they've just done a really fantastic job of getting people who would, number one, make for good TV characters, and number two, make for people that you want to root for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they like you said, I agree with that wholeheartedly. The casting department deserves a round of applause by itself, and just whoever is in charge of the reality TV show department for Netflix, I mean, good googly moogly, because there's other reality TV shows that we're not particularly into, but are also hits like in their own right. I think like that Too Hot to Handle, people love.
Yes.
Is Love Island is Netflix?
I'll look that
Uh,
up for you right now.
but I know people love that. Like we said, Love is Blind. We got The Circle. We got all their new ones. The Ultimatum that came out, and they have a bunch of other new ones that are coming out also. And everyone has these characters that either you fully love or fully hate. And I think in reality TV you need both of those to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
you need polarizing characters. Just for the reference, Love Island is on either Peacock, Paramount Plus, or Hulu. I'm not
Oh.
sure. I think it's like a CBS thing, but regardless, yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit later about giving you characters to root against, and whether or not we whether or not we've gone too far over the edge with that. But let's jump into some of the cast for this season. So I'm just going to read off the cast list in order of blocked outside of the Spice Girls because they didn't get blocked; they left. We had Parker, who catfished as Paul, her 56-year-old father, one of two people catfishing as their parents. We had Emma and Mel B, the Spice Girls, who played a 28-year-old children's author. We had Krista Jackson, an ex Harlem Globetrotter, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That was uh, and I'll tell you this right now, she can hoop. I've seen the handles. We had Alyssa. Oh, she said her last name, but I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm
I
not
was
going to
so
try.
excited. I was looking at the list just now and I was like, I can't wait for him to do this.
I think it's
I
pronounced Lubitsch. I think,
That's
but
what
I could be
I would
wrong.
assume, but I mean, there's an L and a J next to each other. That doesn't happen very often, which
Yes.
means that we don't know how to do it.
Yeah, and Alyssa, if you'd like to come on to a future pod, just to say your last name, we're totally fine with that.
Yeah, we'll take a snippet.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be the intro to our pods going forward. Next was John playing Carol, his 63-year-old mother. I think that's such a funny concept, but we'll get to that later. We had Brew, who was himself, Alex Brizzard, who played Nathan, a 22-year-old frat guy, Everson, who was a cruise director,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, cruise director or head of
Was that his job?
entertainment
Yeah, I
or
think
something
so.
like that.
We had something, yeah. We had Rachel Evans, who I believe was a paranormal investigator, was her official title.
Mm.
We had Yuling Wu. I forgot her. I think she worked in. Actually, I
Media.
forget what she worked in
Pretty
exactly.
sure
Was it
pretty sure,
media?
yeah, she's like a media consultant or
Gotcha.
media promoter.
Okay. Well, I could see her becoming like a social media influencer now after this. We'll talk about that in a bit. We had Trevor, who was playing Imani, who is actually his wife, Delisa's friend, who won season 2 catfishing as him. It comes full, wait for it, circle.
Put him.
And then finally, we had Frank Grimsley, who is was he a social worker?
I believe so.
He was either a social worker or a counselor, who won the whole dang thing. Now, we don't have to go through every single person and like give our thoughts on every single one. Uh, can you just give me a couple of highlights for you in terms of some of the people who you? Well, let's start with some positives. Who were some of your favorites from the season?
Um, I'll start off with favorites that I know that we have in common. How about that?
Sounds good.
Alyssa.
Yep.
I mean, Alyssa she's fun, bubbly, unique with her job being a sex therapist or sex consultant.
I forget the exact. She's an assistant to something
I
in
think
that field.
assistant to sex therapist. Pretty sure.
Okay.
But like that, her bubbly personality, with that job title just made it so intriguing. And there was also some other intriguing things, like she's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
Then
Yeah.
now I'm pretty sure you liked John also, right?
John
John,
playing.
who played Carol.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
I
once
will
again,
say though, real quick, I liked him better once I saw him on social than I did on the show. But go on.
Okay. I liked him on the show. I thought I was gonna hate him. 1, we share a name. 2, we're both from Jersey. And 3, I thought he was being a stereotypical Italian Jersey guy, like almost playing up to it. But then you realize that it's him and he is a nice guy. And even though we share a name, he's also very cool too. But I really enjoyed him. Brew, I was a big fan of. I think Brew he was just authentically himself the whole time. And the whole Mama Carol thing where he was just like, that's my mom. I think my mom's not a woman, but that's my mom anyway. I just enjoyed. There was, I mean, my number one, should I say now? I think we have the same.
Yeah, why not? You can
One
say your number one.
is Frank.
For sure.
Hands down, without a doubt, the best character this season by far, and maybe in the show. History.
I don't think
lovable.
Maybe. I think for a fact the best in the show's history.
Lovable, most lovable, most like. And then there is seasons where you'd be like, oh, this person definitely deserves to win. He 150% deserved the money, and I'm glad it was the season where they got more money. Like, it made it even more worth it. That personality just like he was glowing the whole time.
Was he the first person that we saw in episode 1? Was he the first one to walk into the apartments?
I think so. Which is
he was definitely within the first group. I think he was the first person, and that was smart. Number one. Again, the casting process. I would assume it's not randomized who comes in when. I would imagine it's strategically placed because you'd want to grab people, and so you put people like him, Yuling, and Alyssa together off rip to try and get people into the season. I think Frank. We can just have the Frank conversation now. I think Frank is the best character in the show's history. I think he's a pretty inspiring guy to go through all the things that he's gone through and to still be this happy, this optimistic, this lovable, and this much of like a bright light. I think is amazing. I love the fact again that he got that extra 50 racks. I was team Frank from the beginning, but so Nick from season, was it 3? Yeah, Nick from season 3. I follow him on Instagram, and he did a live with Daniel from season 3 as well. Mm-hmm. That was season 3, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, okay. Did a live with them, and Nick said that he was worried Frank was gonna go in the second round of episodes because after a while they stopped showing Frank as much in the episodes. So he thought that they were like, well, he's gonna leave, so we don't want people to get too attached to him. And so I started thinking, oh no,
Yeah.
this can't, no, please. But lo and behold, Frank goes all the way. So do you have him confirmed above Joey and Shuby?
They will always hold a special place due to nostalgia first season. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, they have that. But out of overall human beings, I think Frank takes the cake.
Yeah.
Like, he's someone that you could hang out with, you could have good conversation with. Um, Someone that like you want to talk to when you're like feeling down. Like that's your go-to person. And I think that shows a lot of his personality and character and who he is. Like that's the person you want to go to.
Excellent loafers as well, by the way. I have a similar pair. um, yeah, big fan of Frank. And so you gave your list of people that you loved. I love a lot of the same ones. I have a couple more that I loved from the season. I was a big fan of this cast. I am a massive fan of Yuling. I think she's great. Coolest makeup I maybe have ever seen.
Yeah,
Just gonna throw that out
her
there.
makeup game insane. And she just it was like constant. Like that's amazing that you do that every day. Like to have that dedication cuz like it's that can't be a little bit of work. Like
No.
cuz it was perfect. Like and the reason I didn't say Yuling on my list was because there were some ups and downs, and that's the only reason I didn't put her on that list at that moment. And we'll get to that in a like when we talk about the drama of the season. But
Yeah.
I do love. In the end, I love Yuling.
And was it? I'm a big fan of Everson. I just wish I could have got more of him.
Same.
Uh,
I wish he was on earlier.
in my opinion, he should have been in the first round of people, and maybe you switch.
Alex.
Who could you switch? Well, we'll talk about Alex in a little bit. You know what? Actually, here's my hot take. You switch Krissa and Everson because I'm a big
Interesting.
Krissa fan. But
I'm
I
a big
think
Chris fan too.
I think the issue with Krissa is she was too cool,
Yeah.
too big a threat.
I
So
think that's a solid switch.
I think you switch
But
them around, she might last till the end.
But I think if you did switch him around, you might get Everson hit with the same thing. Where because he's also kind of like Frank, where he's so bubbly and friendly,
Yeah.
like he seems like I want to hang out with him because you know he's gonna show you a good time. He's the type of person who wants to plan and make sure everybody's having fun, and then you will have fun, like everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, I'll go, and then Rachel. Rachel, I think Rachel seems like a phenomenal human being.
Mhm.
I love how genuine she was playing the game, and she's someone she was targeted as soon as she got into the game, and she lasted till the end. She was what, fourth place? Yeah, she was fourth place after being told she was the catfish at first. People thought she was the Spice Girls, which is, I mean, guys, do you think it's out on the nose that she would out herself like that just because she was a fan? Come on now. But we're not in those situations, so we don't totally know. But yeah, big Rachel guy. I think she's awesome. I was basically, and I guess so we can kind of pivot towards this person that you just mentioned. I was pretty much a fan of everyone on the show except for one person. And if you're listening, Alex, it's not a personal thing. It's that you were great at what you did. Alex, who played Nathan, is the biggest and greatest villain in this show's history by
agree.
a sizable margin. But here's the thing. My question to you, and we kind of talked about this a little bit back when the show was airing, was he too good of a villain?
Like it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just he was a constant villain, which
He
made
was
it
dismantling people,
which made it super unlikable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And seeing some of his social media after, I've learned to dislike him less. But it puts such a bad taste in my mouth, and it's anyone who plays the game that way. where it's like deceiving and backstabbing. And I get it, need it. It makes good reality TV. I'm not saying that there was no point for having his character on the show and playing that role. He needed to be there. It made this this is what made this part of one of the best seasons. But it immediately angered me. I said this to you when I saw it. I'm sick of that trope. I'm sick of the goofy white guy having to come on and catfish as someone good looking and suave. It's
and always seemingly younger than them.
Yeah, and it's been every season almost. I think there's one season that they didn't do it, but every other season there's been that character of the goofier, like, oh, I'm a nerd, but I'm not gonna play the nerd because nobody likes the nerd. And it's like, no, people like authentic people. If you're authentically
you're right. You're right. It is so. All right, here's all of them. There was the guy, I'm forgetting his real name, who catfishes someone named Alex, I believe, in season 1. Season 2, it was Jack who catfished as, what was her name, Emma. And then season 3, there wasn't anyone, so you're on the money there. And then season 4, we had Alex catfishing as Nathan. You're right. It's been almost every season.
Yeah, Alex season 1 catfish as Adam.
Oh wait, his name was Alex too?
Yeah.
I thought he catfished someone named Alex. See, that's weird. 2 on the nose.
And
2
then
on the nose.
Was season 2.
Season 2 was Jack as Emma.
Jack as Emma, yeah. And Jack, I think, did it the best because
it was a little different. He had to be a girl.
Yeah. Season 3, I don't think we got one.
I don't think season 3 we had one.
No.
I think that's the only season.
And I think that was a fresh breath air. Or breath.
a fresh of breath air, yes,
fresh
sir.
of breath air. You know, the usual saying.
Yeah.
But like, it's just one of those things where it's just a goofy guy having to play someone good looking, and it's just like, we get it. Like, you're self-conscious. I don't know. It makes me sad because it's like, we've seen it on the show, and you're starting to realize that they're casting people who are fans of the show and have seen the show. We've talked about that too. We were afraid that this season was going to almost be played too gamey, that we wouldn't like the people, which we were wrong. And that's what gave us Alex, because Alex I saw the show, I know how to play it, and he wanted to play the game. And although, like, did he do well? Like, yeah, I mean, he got to pretty much
6th place.
Yeah, like
6th place.
So he almost made it to the last episode. He almost made it to the top 5. But it's just one of those things that it's like, I think if he came on and was authentically himself, I think, I don't know, maybe he could have done just as well, if not better. I don't think it would have hurt him, because I think, like, look at these top people, except for Trevor, who's playing Imani. It's Frank, the winner, so authentically himself. Yuling, authentic. Rachel, authentic. Everson, authentic. Yeah. Right? And then our favorites, Alyssa, authentic. Krissa, authentic. Brew, authentic. Right? And then there's, like, obviously there's the catfish. But even the catfish have some sense of authenticity when you like them. Like, when you like the catfish, yes, they're catfishing, but they end up having conversations as themselves through the catfish. And that's what makes them, like, likable as a catfish. And that's the only redeeming qualities of certain catfish. Then there's catfish who you're like, ugh, they put a bad taste in my mouth, because those are the gamers. And I think that was the problem with Alex, who played Nathan. It was just constantly gaming. Like, what will this frat boy say? What will this frat boy do? And it just became, like, gross and a bad cringe instead of a good cringe.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think it'd be nice. I want them to cast a goofy white guy and for him to be himself on there for next season.
I want someone like us, okay? You know, let's go back to the old style of the podcast. We're sweaties here, okay? And with that, we want some representation on a show that we love, right? Someone who collects Funko Pops, someone who likes Marvel, someone who plays too much video games, right? And then you go in and you show, hey, us nerds could also have great personality, and boom, you win the show because you're best of both worlds.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, and I mean, there's anyone that we didn't really mention on here? Well, I guess from there we can kind of pivot over to some of the dramas of the season. I think that there was. I don't even know if I would say there was a lot of dramas. I think there were a couple of misfires on people's ends, and I think a majority of the blockings were all due to mistakes being made.
Yeah.
I'll go through each one. Parker, her mistake was coming in as her father.
100%.
I think I don't think she was prepared to play a true 56-year-old. But that's a commitment. That's a 30-year age gap.
There's also a curse, right? There's a
Yeah.
curse on the show. It's the hot person curse, right?
Yeah.
The hot person always gets voted off first, right? We've had it almost every season. I just don't remember who got voted off last season first, but it's been pretty much almost every season. The hot person gets voted off first.
Yeah, you hate to see it. So with her, it was that. With Krissa, the mistake was oddly enough being too cool. She maybe should have reeled it in a little bit. She played herself too much. She should have been less likable. Alyssa's downfall was actually being intimidated by Krissa. Had she not gotten Krissa out, she would not have been eliminated next.
Yeah.
Then you go to, I'm going to actually jump over the next person who got blocked, and we're going to go to Brew. Brew's fatal mistake was picking John over Alyssa. He picked someone who I mean, we all knew wasn't going to, you knew that John was not making it to the finale.
Yeah.
You just knew it because everyone knew he was a catfish. And at a certain point, no matter what anyone says, it's easier to vote out a catfish than it is someone you know is being themselves.
Yeah, because you don't know at what level that person's catfishing.
Exactly. And then you go back, John's was, if you say you're a baker, you got to be a baker. Whatever you say you are, you have to be really good at it.
Yeah.
As the moment, the very moment that he had to decorate that cake, I was like, oh,
the producers do this stuff on purpose. It's just like when Jack was playing Emily and they made him do makeup. It's like, hey, they knew what they were doing. They like anyone who's catfishing. They're like, well, we're gonna test you.
Alex's Nathan, I think his mistake was maybe playing such a cutthroat game that he wasn't able to build as strong a connection as he thought he would have with alliances.
Yeah.
I think that was his downfall. Everson, and so from then on is the finale. And I think at that point, it's not based on downfalls. I think that your goal is just to make it to the finale because you never know who people are going to vote.
And that's the thing with the finale. I think it's always somewhat up in the air, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we all agree, like, most of the people that we know have agreed that Frank should have won this game, right? And he did win the game. And I think that there's some point of that. The top 5 also believe that Frank was the most deserving. That's why he ended up getting voted the highest and won. So with that, I do think there is some of like, did you have an effect on people? But it also, it's one of those things where did you have too much of an effect on people where now they feel threatened and they really want to win, so they're going to vote you lower. And so that also comes into luck, where I think Frank did also have some luck where they loved him more than they felt threatened by their love for him.
I would agree. Yeah. And then from then on, like you said, can we talk about the spiciness, shall we say, of the season?
Yes.
Dude, them getting the Spice Girls to actually show up.
I mean, I would have. I didn't think they were actually having the Spice Girls on. I thought they were gonna have someone almost catfish as a Spice Girl. Like when I first, they first started.
What was that? Season 2 with the Backstreet Boy.
Yeah. It was the assistant, and Lance Bass, right?
Yes, that's who it
Yeah.
was. Yes.
Um, but yeah, it was just like they got the Spice Girls on, and the best part is they enjoyed it. They were
Yeah.
into it because that was where it could have gone horribly bad. Like if they didn't enjoy what they were doing and they weren't fully into the game, then it could have gone bad. Also, if they gave them an option to win and like the money then went to charity or something, I think that would have also been lame. I love how they did it where they were able, if they hid long enough, that it got boosted for the other people who then could win it. I mean, this twist this season, because every season has the twist. This twist this season, I mean, another one, Chef's Kiss, like the circle. What do you like? Where do you come up with this stuff? And
I
I
know.
love, like, I absolutely loved it, being able to see the personalities of the Spice Girls kind of like authentically in this situation. I
Mhm.
mean, it was amazing. I just, once again, behind the scenes stuff I would love to see, because these are two rich ladies and they got them living, I'm putting air quotes around it, in a small apartment, because I wonder if they made them live in that apartment. Like, they
Yeah.
are very rich, and you know they haven't lived in anywhere that small in a very long time. Even their hotel
Hmm.
rooms, I don't think are that small.
Yeah. And by the way, you said it was nice to see the personalities. It was just, for me, it was just nice to see Mel B. Just in general, just nice to see her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Yep.
nice. And not just Mel B, both of them. But anyways, um, and yeah, but here's the thing. Here's my question: do you want to see more celebrities in the future, or do you want it to be very few and far between?
That's the caveat though, right? If they do have the celebrities, they need to be into it, and they need to do things like this where they need to stay hidden, right? If they continue this trope of like, hey, so and so's on the show, you have to figure out who it is. Cool. I like that idea. And then it boosts. Now, I doubt they're going to do the same thing over and over, even if they do it every other season or something like that. But I like the idea of someone hiding and having to boost the price for that. I'm always down for these people making more money. Um,
X.
but yeah, no, I think it, once again, it has to be done well. And I can't doubt the Circle production team, right?
At
They
this
have
point.
given me zero. We're on 4 seasons of this show, and it's gotten better. Like, there hasn't been a dud of a season. Every season was loved for one reason or another. And that's the cool thing, too. I've loved each season for its own thing. And I wonder if that's the personalities or how they switch up the gameplay or a combination of both. But every season has, I've loved it for its own little thing that they do, or like for a different reason. It's made me fall in love with it. And I think that's super unique out of a reality show like this.
I would agree. Yeah. So the the other interesting thing about people coming in this season that we maybe didn't expect to was we had Trevor come back. Trevor, who obviously was played by his wife, Delisa, who won playing him in season two. How do you feel about either people who were being used as catfish in previous seasons coming back, or how do you feel about people who previously played the show coming back? First, let's start
I
off with people being catfished as them.
I liked it. I thought it was fun. I don't know if you could catfish. I mean, I guess you could, but I guess you'd have to. I don't think you'd could catfish as someone who's already been on the show, right? Um, just because you'd have to, uh, like, I think you should have to have that person back on the show at least once, or have someone else back on the show at least once. Then you could catfish as that a person who's been on the show. But I like the people. I like what happened this season, where he came in and he has a connection to someone who's been on the show, a winner, which makes it like my wife could do it. Then I need to step up and show like, hey, our whole family's got it, type of situation. Um, but I mean, I've wanted it since the first season. I like you want to see these faces again. You grow to love these people. You follow them on social media. You just almost grow to love them more, and you know they're friends, right? And they're friendly outside. So I think, I mean, it could be a lot of drama, right? Because they do become friends. So now I wouldn't necessarily say have maybe don't have some winners on, right? Because if they won once, maybe you can make the argument that they deserve to win again. But, or do something with the winners of like, maybe you make them catfish as another player who's been on, maybe something they got close with, and that you say one of these people is so and so from season blah, and do it almost like a Spice Girls thing, where if you catch them, then the pot gets raised, because that person I think will also know what it's like to win the money and know and want it so bad to stay hidden and play that role. Like, could you imagine if Joey was playing Shuby?
Oh,
Like,
that'd be
it
awesome.
would be so much fun, right? Or the other way around. I think would be hilarious also if Shuby was playing Joey type of thing.
Mhm.
But I would love to see a season of like a reunion season almost, like a battle of the favorites or a Hall of Fame season. Like, I think it could be a lot of fun, and you're getting enough cast members to do that now. So
Mhm.
that's what's really cool too.
Joey has mentioned that he would not go back on the show just because he doesn't want to. He likes the idea of new people getting the opportunity that he did, and he said that he also feels like there was such magic on that first season that he doesn't want to tarnish it. And I can totally see what he's saying there. But I wouldn't. Daniel and Nick were saying on that same live I mentioned earlier, they had mentioned how they would love to do an All Stars thing where like a bunch of previous Circle players go in and everyone's a catfish. Everyone catfishes as someone else, and you don't know who anyone is. Like, you don't know which other All Stars came back.
That would be fun too, and that'd be fun because it takes out the idea of. Now, I wonder if you tell all the people that everybody's catfishes, or you make that one person think that they're the catfish, and like, because that could also add an extra level. Like, if they think people are authentic and they're not looking for everybody being a catfish, figuring out who they are, I think that would be the best idea, because then all of a sudden they all show up to the final five room, or just I think eventually they'd start to. See, that's the problem, though. Okay, so I just found a flaw in my plan. When someone gets eliminated and they make a video,
But you
wouldn't be
don't
able
do
to
that.
do that. You can't
You take that out. You take that out of the season.
Which might also be a little fishy, but at the same point, why? Maybe you're like, we're just switching up the season. Like, you'll find
Or
out
you
at
could
the
leave
reunion.
maybe you could leave like a text, like a message, like a regular message for the persons.
Yeah, and you could play that of like knowing like we don't know how many catfish are here. We don't know if we got any catfish. Like, everyone could be catfish. No one could be a catfish. Like that. That's also fun with it.
And you could tell, like let's say people do visit each other, like you can visit one person or whatever. You could have it set up to where the producers tell them you can't mention or the Circle, whatever, tells them you can't mention who you just saw.
I like that.
And then people who are getting visited start to realize, wait, are there other people from the show previously on here? Who's who isn't who, and then that'd be really cool.
That's fun too, because unless you get visited by more than one person, which I don't think ever really happens. I don't remember if anyone's gotten visited.
The only person that I can remember seeing multiple people was Joey, and that's because he was also super secret influencer and had to go eliminate someone.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I can remember. Maybe Sammy. Sammy might have gotten visited by two people, actually. But again, we're talking about two goats, so
yeah. Oh God, it would be so much fun to have like a all-star season. And that brings us to the conversation of how the show has progressed, and we've talked about it in the past ones. Obviously, they always do a new flip. Do you think there's any flips? And I mean, has anything popped into your mind? Ideas that have popped into your mind, and the answer might well as be no. We might move past this. That you were like, "Ooh, if they do this, it would be too much." Like,
I think, in terms of too much, they should never do something where it could lower the cash.
Yeah. If that happened, that would be good. Unless the only time you could argue that is if they bumped it up to like 500K and then did it. But I still think it would be disgusting almost. Like, because you're playing. I mean, that turns it more into a game show, right? Like, I mean, the only time you could do it is if you're able to get a season of all previous winners,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like a Hall of Fame, like best of the best, like type of thing. Because then if you're taking money, they already got money from the show. So if you're starting to take little money away, it gives them a thing, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
It
Yeah,
would
see
be
that's
fun.
what I'm saying.
It would be fun to put it in like a bounty on Catfish's head. That's right.
See,
I mean,
that would
it's
be
also
interesting.
kind of evil. Now, those catfish, see, that's where I think the two ideas merge. You have people from previous seasons come back, they're catfishing, right? And you put a bounty on their heads, and if they're able to get voted off by a certain time, then you could win money, right? Or you boost it.
You know, it'd be interesting if you did a thing where like, so like one person gets 100 grand confirmed, right? You mentioned the word bounty. What if you did a thing where like anyone who was correct about the catfish gets like 10 grand,
I like
regardless
that.
of if they win or not? That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
I like that a lot. That would be a lot of that's and it and like you said it adds an incentive to finding that person and that
Hmm.
because then it would put so much pressure on that person to like make sure they got that character down like on lock like
And something popped into my head today that they would never do, but it's something I think would be interesting, just as like a social experiment. What about a season where no one's a catfish, but they don't tell them that? It's they present it as like this is a regular circle. There could be
mhm.
catfish on here, but it's actually everyone is who they say they are.
That would be a lot of fun because then you'd get down to like the final five and they would all think everyone's catfish like
At that point, yeah, they'd be
because
like,
you always have catfish and then if you don't vote any off like they
mm-hmm.
would all be like what what the hell? Actually, was this season the one with the most catfish? One, two, three, four,
um,
five. There was five on this season. I don't think any
was
other
there
season
5?
had five.
Was it 5 this season?
Yeah.
That's nuts. Jeez. Well, you know, it's funny when you Google the circle. The first, who do you think the first 3 people are aside from Michelle? Who do you think are the first 3 people that pop up for the show's cast?
Ooh. I don't know. Um, Joey?
One of them, I did not assume would be them. Who you said Joey?
Yeah.
Joey's in the 3.
Okay. Sammy.
Sammy's also in the 3.
I would just say Frank because he was the most recent winner, but
Chloe
well,
from season
okay,
2.
makes sense. Makes sense though. Because
Previous show as well
yeah,
on
I wouldn't
Netflix.
have thought about that, but it definitely makes sense.
Mm-hmm. A star in her own right. 1 million Instagram followers, by the way.
Yeah.
Good for her. Do you have it pulled up as to the
So this is the most. Yeah, this season was the most.
really?
Couple seasons had four. This season had five.
Wow.
Yeah.
This had them. You know why that surprises me so much? I'm going to give you my rankings of the seasons. So from least favorite to favorite, and I've liked every season.
Yeah.
Uh, my least favorite though was season 2.
I agree.
Uh, next would be season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like that season. Then it's season 4, and then the best is season 1.
Yeah, it just it holds a special place in our hearts, right?
But
It
have you
just
rewatched it? Have you ever rewatched it?
yeah, it
It's
holds up.
just better. It's
It
just
holds
better.
up. Yeah, and I think
Uh,
they did come. They did get the perfect cast for a first season of something.
yeah.
Um, and they all play it so well. They like
It there is an emotional rawness in that season that is not in any of the other
yeah,
ones.
because once people found out, even though didn't they shoot one and two back to back like quickly, or was that two and three,
2 and 3 they filmed
and
within weeks of each other.
then I'm assuming they probably did a four and five relatively quickly too.
I would assume so because you got to fly people out and everything. So
Yeah. So especially with the whole COVID thing now, I don't know what their protocols are anymore,
oh
um,
yeah, me neither.
but it's
Yeah.
one of the, like yeah, season one, And hey, if you're listening to this, and if you're on the YouTube page, drop your ratings down below in the comment section. I'm curious to what other people think too. Um,
Me too, actually.
because like, yeah, and I don't. Can you pinpoint what it is about season 2 that just was a little lackluster, or do you think it's just
Um,
coming off the back of the GOAT season?
so I mean, season 2 was still, it was really good. We still liked it a lot. I think that coming
Oh,
off of that, go ahead.
there was a lot of drama in that season.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That
It
kind
was
of
weird.
almost it was like sour taste a lot of the time.
The
Like,
first couple episodes, and this is not to disparage either of them, they both seem like lovely individuals. The drama between Terralisha and Savannah was getting to the point, and it was a couple episodes long where I was kind of like, I, I'm here for more of the camaraderie along with the drama. I don't want only drama.
yeah,
And that affected everything because then Courtney got involved. By the way, shout out Savannah and Courtney. They have their own pod. I see you. And it just got kind of weird after a while.
yeah, I
Um,
agree. And
and first time a catfish won, so we were kind of like, whoa, wait, okay, so this happened now. It was just it was kind of, I think, you know what it was. I think it was the show, the American version of the show, rather, kind of feeling itself out. Not
yeah,
American, the English version of the show, I should say,
yeah.
because it's filmed in the UK. Kind of feeling itself out and learning what works and what doesn't work, I think.
I agree, and I think that's one of the things about the show. We do want a little bit of drama, but not like angry fight drama. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
And it's not like a Real Housewives where part of the reason you watch it is to see that catty fighting. Um, it's not that type of show where that's what you want to see. I mean, a little of like shade here and there is fun, part of the game. But at the end, and some of my favorite things about the Netflix shows, I said this to some of my cousins last night. The best part is being able to look in and watch them all be friends after. Like they
Yeah.
all hang out, like, and it's a crew of like the Circle family, the Love Is Blind family. Um, I guess there's gonna be an Ultimatum family. That's super weird. Um, because that you think about that drama.
Yeah, for
Um,
real.
but yeah, it's just it's nice to see. It makes you feel good.
I would agree. By the way, I don't think we didn't do an ultimatum pod. I don't think, right? Uh,
No, no, we didn't.
it,
Just
if you haven't watched that show, I would recommend it. I would compare it to the Wild West of reality TV dating shows.
yeah.
Just an absolute bananas ride. Maybe not the best for all the contestants' mental health. Just gonna throw that out there. But I mean, just extremely compelling television. And Zay was hanging out with some of the Circle people a couple weeks back. So
Saw that.
you're right. There's some intermingling amongst all the show families. What about
But
you? Do you have anything that you think? Is there anything that you want to see them do or not see them do that we haven't talked about
um
already?
I can't pinpoint anything that we haven't mentioned. Like we talked about the bringing people back. I'm full send on that idea because majority of the people I really enjoy, right? It could even be fun if you get friends on the season, have them go together and catfish as someone.
Well, so
Um,
I was going to mention that. How would you feel about a season where they did every single person? How about this? Every catfish is two people
I would love that.
catfishing.
I like that because it brings a dynamic. So you get to watch them with other people, and then you get to watch them with each other, right? Like it's a whole different dynamic of them figuring out how to play the game, and you have two personalities contributing into one, which is super unique and fun.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree.
but I don't really have like I can't think of something that would just put a bad taste in my mouth other than like someone who doesn't need the money winning it, like a famous person who's already got money winning the money. I don't want to see it go to a charity, no offense, but like that's not what I'm here to see with the show. I want the people that I'm starting to like enjoy seeing and build a connection with. I want to see them get that money
hmm
and
And
whatnot.
prosper with it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, with I really enjoyed watching Mel B. And what was the other special girl's name? Emma.
Yeah.
Emma and Mel B. I enjoyed seeing them together. I think that we don't often get two people in the room together, so it's kind of nice to see them having someone to bounce off of
Mm-hmm.
with ideas and everything. But interestingly enough, we've only ever had one duo make it far, and that was Jack and what's her name, Lisa,
Yeah.
the assistant
And
for
and
Lance Bass.
and that's different because they played their own roles in the game and then they got put into it together. So that I mean,
Mhm.
like, yeah, that counts, but does it? Like,
Yeah. And in terms of season two, there was one more thing. They were kind of putting people against each other a little bit on their own
yeah,
in the production thing. Remember the Joker?
yeah,
That was like a big thing, and that lasted far longer than it should have on the show. Like I remember Mitchell was bringing it up late into the season, and Courtney was like,
hmm
"Let it go." You know?
Oh, there is something. How'd you feel about the switch of the voting people off, where it was like the chain reaction?
Oh, you mean how
Like, 'cause that's the one Alyssa got voted off on because no one. It was
because no
the
one saved her.
virus. No one gave her the antivirus.
I thought that was kind of cool and
I thought
really
that was
dramatic.
so. I like because they do that too. They every season they have a different. There's one voting where it's different, and they'll just be like, "Well, whoever's in last is off." Haha.
Hmm.
Or like this. I thought this was fun. Like it's just that chain of like, who are you gonna save? Okay, who are you gonna save? And you're right. It was super dramatic. I mean, dramatic enough where they ended an episode and then started the next episode, and that was a break. That was the break week.
Yeah,
So I really enjoyed it too. But I
I
like
love
things
when
like
they
that.
do
I
weird
want
stuff
them
like
to.
that.
That's the thing. I want them to expand on like I'm not saying you have to switch several different things each season. One is enough because it keeps it a little fresh. And I mean, obviously, I think they know that we've been gushing over how well they've been doing these seasons
Yeah,
for every time we do a podcast about it. But it's they knocked it out of the park again.
yeah. I think that this was again my second favorite season personally. You have the same list as me in terms of your season rankings.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean,
Okay.
it's hard because four is so fresh on the mind too that you're like, is it? Does it beat it out? But there is that special quality about season one that I don't like. You said it's so endearing and so heartfelt with each person.
I mean, let me just throw out some of the moments on that first season. Do you remember Sean coming into the catfish and then embracing herself and changing over to like her profile picture to who she actually was?
Yeah,
That happened. We had Joey and Miranda having a
playing.
uh, small romantic spark for a second. We had Shuby just going till did he get second place?
Yeah,
He was the only nerd that we ever got playing
yeah,
himself.
and authentically him.
Shout out to Shuby on TikTok. He's a very interesting follow. Um, we had Sammy doing great stuff. We had well, we had Miranda who had an incredible journey of her own personally getting to the point where she got onto the show. And then of course we did have some folks like Mitchell's brother and his mom,
Yeah.
Country Hawking, doing the
Mhm.
thing, which was just entertaining. Um,
But on that
but
season, you also had Chris. Chris was that season too, right?
oh, Chris
Yeah,
was it? Chris
Chris,
Sapphire,
and he
yeah,
was
Chris was another amazing
so
one.
lovable. Like
Oh,
just everybody on
that
that season, there's pretty much all love. Just like this season, like you pretty much love everybody on that season. Like
sometimes there's just crazy casts, and I think
yeah,
season one was one of them. That's like an all-timer reality TV show season. And I think if this was like I'm trying sometimes I try to think like, well, what if this was the first of something? Would it have caught on as big as it did? I think if season four was the first season of the show, I think it would still be as popular. I think though, if it was season two, maybe not as popular. If that was the first season of the show.
interesting. Yeah, I agree. I agree because it's just there was a little more negativity, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the shining lights of this show is highlighting that positive, telling some very good stories. Like there's
Hmm.
always like you get these people who like don't think so and so will accept them, and then they have a conversation, and you get this heartfelt moment where it's like, wow, so and so's accepting when I didn't think they would be, or I really like them for this or that. And I don't want it to be an argue fest or have someone who's on like a bigot or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of gross. So there we go. That's one of my gross things. Don't have on people who are gross and like
Yeah.
bring down the energy. Now, obviously, you can't help if people are going to argue or butt heads, but that's natural. But like if you know, you know,
I know.
yeah, you know.
Um, yeah, and my closing thoughts on this season, and I guess my closing thoughts for myself on this pod. I thought that Frank winning was the best thing possible for the show. I think having someone who wanted to be authentically themselves throughout the entire experience and win, going through as many trials and tribulations as that guy has, I think that's what the show kind of needed to keep people engaged and rooting for the show's success. Because I almost got emotional watching Frank win. When he started crying and couldn't speak when they announced his name, I was screaming in happiness. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you. And I mean, everyone in our group chat was going off about it, about how happy they were that he won too. So I think they did a great job. I also think that him winning gives them, and this is just me being realistic, it gives them wiggle room for them, like having someone win next season who is the villain.
Yeah.
If it happened, just because you still have like the hope that maybe another Frank will win in the future. So again, love this season. It's not the 10 out of 10 of season one, in my opinion, but I would say it's pretty close for as like a 9 in my opinion.
9.5. Yeah, it's up there. And like I said, even with the person that I didn't like of
Alex.
Nathan, Alex playing Nathan, you if you look at him on social media and you're like, no, you're still likable. You're still
Yeah.
a good person. You just, man, did he play the hell out of that role?
Yeah, he did. Shout out to him.
Yeah, he's good at acting.
Any other thoughts before we get out of here, or are you good on those?
I think I gushed enough this episode. So you know what, Circle, keep giving us good seasons, and
Please.
can't ask for much more than that.
Where can people find you?
Ginger Grill Gaming on YouTube, if you haven't seen this podcast on there, it's on there, and then just Ginger Grill Gaming on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm gonna make a concerted effort to tweet thoughts about TV shows more often. That's my new thing. Positive thoughts. I'm gonna stay positive because I don't want to be spreading negativity. But I feel like I think things and then I never actually put it out in the world. And then I'm like, hey, I do a podcast. I should tweet these things. Like, I mean, but check out those places. What about you, Kyle?
You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Geeks Weekly. And you can find me, I need to get back on my art game. It's been a while since I've really drawn some stuff. Maybe I'll get around to it this month. Maybe I'll have a little bit more spare time. But Fortnite's fire again, so maybe I won't. You can find me on Instagram at BuffCharmanderGW for some of my art stuff. And I might start posting my takes. I'm more of an Instagram kind of guy. I might start posting my takes on movies and shows and stuff, like short ones in my stories on there or whatever. But those are the places where you can find us. Thank you very much for listening to this month's podcast. Really appreciate it, especially if you got to this point. Make sure if you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe, leave the video a thumbs up, and drop any sort of comment you can. Your thoughts on the season, your thoughts on the circle as a whole, your rankings, as Ginger Grill said before, anything whatsoever. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, please, please, please give us the maximum rating, 5 stars, whatever it is, on the podcast app that you listen to, and leave us a review. These things help us grow, and if we grow more, we would be able to put out more pods for sure, and that'd be awesome. So once again, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Gorilla and the Geek. Once again, I have been Buff Charmander, joined as always by Ginger Gorilla.
Yep. I hope you have a wonderful rest of this month, and I can't wait for the next episode. Which is it? Stranger Things?
It should be Stranger Things, I think.
Ooh,
That's
that's gonna be an episode.
first or
that's
second week
it.
of July.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in Germany during that?
I'll be Germany during the release, but it's because it comes out the 3rd, and then we'll be able to record when I get back.
Stay off social, bro. Stay off social.
Yeah, I know. I'll probably watch it there.
Yeah.
Probably gonna watch it there. I mean, we're gonna be on trains and stuff, so I'm gonna have to. But
Gotcha.
like Kyle said, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate it if you made it this far in, and peace out, everybody.
See you next time.